Pet stores in Victoria are now banned from selling puppies in a move to stifle the state's puppy farm industry. Today, the Victorian government passed new laws that limits the number of dogs a breeder is allowed to keep and imposes tighter restrictions on how and where dogs can be sold. It's been called an incredible victory by animal welfare advocates, including Deborah Tratter, who founded the group Oscar's Law after rescuing her toy poodle Oscar from a puppy farm in 2010. Ms Tratter joins us now from Melbourne. It's good to have you with us, and it looks like you've got Oscar with you as well. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Kirsten.
Firstly, can you tell us, because he's there, can you tell us Oscar's story?
Yes, Oscar was rescued from a puppy factory when he was 5 years old. He had spent the first 5 years of his life in a shed as a stud dog, breeding to supply pet shops. He's 11 years old now.
And when you say in a shed, were you able to actually witness the conditions that he was kept in?
Yes, I went to the shed after a tip-off to investigate the puppy factory, and when we walked in the shed of this particular puppy factory, there was about 70 to 80 dogs, and Oscar was one of these dogs. They were all in one shed, and they were kept confined in filthy cages. Oscar was actually in a cage with two female poodles, so his role was just a stud dog for the first 5 years of his life, and he had never been out of that shed.
Some people in our audience might be wondering, what's the difference between a puppy farmer and a puppy breeder?
Yeah, well, we call them registered breeders. So registered breeders have never sold to pet shops. It's actually in their code of ethics that they don't sell to pet shops, because registered breeders realise it's not good practice, it's not best practice. They treat their dogs as family members, and they raise their puppies in a family home because they're raising family pets. So they treat their breeding dogs as family pets. The puppies are born and raised in a family home. They're not sold via pet shops. Whereas puppy factories, they treat dogs purely as breeding machines. It's a business, and they fly their puppies all around Australia to be sold in pet shops, or they'll advertise on Gumtree and Trading Post.
Take us through some of the other changes in the new legislation in Victoria.
Well, one of the most exciting things, of course, is the ban on the sale of animals in pet shops. This is historical. We made history today in Australia. I know our colleagues in the USA and the UK have been watching this closely. It was only last month that California was the first state in the USA to ban the sale of animals in pet shops, and today Victoria is the first state in Australia to do the same. So it's quite history making this legislation. The second part that we're really excited about is what's called the Pet Exchange Register, and this covers all online sellers. At the moment, you can find an ad on the Trading Post. It will just have a name and a phone number. You don't know who this person is. They can use fake names. They have multiple phone numbers that they use. They will meet you at the local service station and sell you a puppy, and there's really no accountability, traceability or consumer protection if something goes wrong with that puppy. So this Pet Exchange Register, everyone that sells a pet online will have to enrol on this register, get a source number, and that source number will have to be in the online ad. The public will be able to then take that source number and actually look it up on the Pet Exchange Register and find out the person's name and the council area that they live in. So at least you've got some accountability and traceability, and also some consumer protection for if things do go wrong, they can ring that council and quote the source number.
And so do you think these changes will indeed see the end of so-called puppy factories?
I think it'll see the end of what we know puppy factories to be now, and that is uncapped, literally hundreds of dogs. There is no limit on the amount of dogs puppy farmers were allowed to have. They could have 300 or 400 dogs if they wanted to. And in fact, the very first puppy farm I went to in Ballarat 24 years ago had a permit for 560 dogs. With puppies, there was over 1,000 dogs and puppies on site, and that was legal. So now we're seeing a cap on the number of dogs puppy farmers are allowed to have. And with the changes in the code of practice that this will bring, it will put the focus more on animal welfare rather than the financial profits of these puppy farmers make. So the more dogs they have, the more profit they made. The focus on puppy farmers was solely profit.
I'm interested in getting your thoughts as well for anyone perhaps considering taking on a puppy, what questions should they be asking of breeders?
Yeah, I'd urge everyone to first contact the Australian National Kennel Council and talk to them about what kind of breed you're interested in. They will then give you a list of breeders in your state, and it's just a matter of making contact with those breeders. We always advise people to go to the place where the puppy is born and raised, to always see the pup interacting with its mother and its litter mates, and a good breeder will ask you just as many questions as you ask them, because they want to know that their puppies are going not only to a good home, but the right home suitable for their breed. That's the sign of a good breeder. There's always adoption as well. And the good thing about the ban on the sale of animals in pet shops in Victoria is that they'll become adoption centres. We know that there's plenty of pet shops right around Australia now that are holding adoption days, working with rescue groups, pounds and shelters in showcasing how awesome rescue dogs are and that there's nothing wrong with them, they just need a second chance. So to have these retail outlets right around Victoria highlighting and showcasing rescue dogs, that's going to boost adoptions.
Do you hope other states and territories are going to follow Victoria's lead?
Absolutely. We've got, Oscar's Law has the most dedicated, committed group of supporters and volunteers. We are a small grassroots organisation. We have no paid staff. We don't even have an office. But what we do have is incredible supporters right around Australia. And I can tell you our supporters are lobbying their state governments to follow Victoria's lead. And I'm pleased to say that we've been working with the WA Labor government recently, and I've been working with a politician over there, Lisa Baker, for about 4 years now, and it looks like Western Australia are going to be next to be bringing in similar legislation.
Well, Oscar certainly looks like he's recovered well and is well loved. Is he actually asleep? No.
It's been a busy day. We were at, Oscar was home yesterday, but I was at Parliament House till midnight. I was only home a few hours and we've been at Parliament House all day today, so Oscar's quite tired.
Deborah Tranter, thank you very much for coming in and, of course, for bringing Oscar as well.
Thank you.